everyone, and welcome to Out of the Box. I'm your co host, Eunice Daniels, and with me today again is my lovely husband.
I'm Joe Daniels, and I'm really glad to be on the show today.
Today, we're going to be continuing again on our discussion about the matters of the soul. Last episode, we talked about the human being made up of the spirit, soul, and body. And to be honest with you, the one that really triggered something in me is having a soul check. So today we're going to press in and explore more on this issue. So stay tuned.
Thank you very much again, Dr. Shoba. We're glad that you're able to join us.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you.
And, off the camera, we were talking a bit more about this, how mental health develops. And I wish we could talk a little bit more about it. And hopefully, when we talk about the different aspects of mental illnesses, you can help us see maybe areas of nature or nurture or bringing exposures, conflict, and traumas in life and how this could contribute to mental health illnesses. Now, again, we did mention last time that lots of people talk about mental illness when they think about the psychosis, so when somebody is really, truly mad or crazy. But there are really subtle mental health problems that people have. And majority of that is really, majority of the people who have mental health issues have those sort of subtle minor ones. So can you help us, begin to talk about or unravel
Different
these
ones.
aspects
Yeah.
of mental illness that most people don't talk about or most people don't know about? Certainly your pastor is not telling you.
Thank you very much. And once again, so of course you mentioned psychosis. By the time we talk about, so we're talking about severe mental illness. But there are other things like anxiety disorder. There is mood disorder, depression being the commonest one. I was at a meeting yesterday and they were talking about depression becoming one of the most disabled
Wow.
disorders that we're going to be encountering this decade. And so we've got anxiety, we've got depression, we've got things like obsessive compulsive disorder. Again, it's a form of anxiety disorder. And of course, we've got things like...
Can you please talk us through that one, obsessive compulsive disorder? I know people talk about
Yeah.
it. Or are we going to talk
Yeah,
about
what
it?
I actually, when I was preparing, what I would
Yeah.
like us to do is when we talk about depression, I was going to
Okay.
talk a little bit about that.
About OCD.
OCD, because
yeah.
some people talk about that. People don't really understand what that means. So I'm going to
Because some
cover
people
that.
think, well, I'm just OCD,
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
OCD.
I'm just
that's all.
obsessional.
I'm just obsessed.
Yeah, and then people don't seek help. People don't understand why they're like that. So it is a form of anxiety disorder. There is also what is called post-traumatic stress disorder for people who had been exposed, so major trauma developed. So that's another form of anxiety disorder. And of course, we've got major illnesses like bipolar affective disorder, which is where you experience both the depression and also what we call mania or hypomania. And of course, we've got the serious ones like schizophrenia, which is a form of psychotic disorder. So the list goes on and on and on. And I think by the time people start experiencing some of that, people sometimes seek help.
Yeah.
The ones that
They
I
have
think
to, by
they have to
force.
because they have no, but the ones that we
Yeah.
don't often kind of take, we don't really put a lot of attention to things like anxiety, worrying about things easily. So the point where begins to affect your sleep, your concentration, it begins to impact on your relationship with your husband, with your wife, with your children. Things like personality related issues. And if I may, can I just highlight a few issues about issue of personality?
Definitely. Yeah.
I said earlier on during the last program, that the things that happens to us in early life, particularly the first couple of years of our life, can affect the development of our personality.
Yeah.
Now, what do I mean by personality? Your personality is what talks about your psychological makeup, the traits that you have, and your peculiar way of responding to things. So, for example, we say your personality is what determines how you relate with people. Some of us easily relate with people. Some of us are very difficult to relate with or to relate to. Some of us can start relationship, but we have difficulties in maintaining relationship. So we go from one relationship to another. So your personality determines that. Your personality determines how you regulate your emotion. We spoke about emotion being one of the 5 of the soul.
Of the soul, yeah.
So your how you manage your emotion. Some people, their emotion is up today, down tomorrow. You talk to them on the phone today, they're okay. The next time you talk to them is you can't relate with them. You don't understand. So issue with managing your emotion. Your personality determines how you manage stress.
That's right.
Your personality determines your predisposition to having mental illness. Your personality determines how quickly you bounce back when you have gone through stressful things. I'll give you a practical example.
Yeah.
You have 2 people in a church, both of them hearing the same messages, both of them in the same Christian community. Both of them face the same situation, and yet they both respond differently. It's your
They receive
personality.
the same counsel from the pastor, maybe.
Same counsel, the same word that you're exposed to, the same Bible that you read, and yet the response to the same stressful event completely different.
So that means for us as human beings, we need to know what kind of personality we have and what kind of personality the people around us have. Because when yes, you can understand yourself, but when you understand the people around you, you're able to be considerate and relate well with them or to them. I'll use myself as an example. I'm introvert in the sense that I like my space. I look for answers from within. But whereas some other people would get answers from outside. And so it's easy to say, oh, she's not talking. Oh, it's not that she's not talking. But strength comes from within when you're into it. Like somebody like me that's introvert.
And you just touch on what is called emotional intelligence, isn't it? Your awareness of your own emotional state, of yourself, and also being aware of the other people around you and having that understanding, because that's what helps us, whether we're relating with people within our family or the ability to be able to relate with people at work. So that understanding of that personality is very important. And understand the reason why you are the way you are.
That's right.
Maybe you are somebody who, unfortunately, like myself, experienced a major trauma during your childhood. And on top of that, while growing up again, you were unfortunate again to have been bullied. So you've got those layers that have shaped your personality. And remember what I said earlier about understanding where you're starting from.
That's right.
You need to understand, why am I like this? I began to get answer because I started asking myself the question, why am I easily startled? Why do I struggle with anxiety? Why is it that whenever I perceived anything a little bit stressful, my cortisol level, what we call the stress hormone, hit the roof? And my heart rate will go up.
You overreact.
Overreacting to things,
Yeah.
suffering in my physical body, abdominal pain, some of those things we're going to talk about. It is important because the other bit that is also really important to know, and I say this to Christian, if you have been a subject of abuse during childhood, any sort of maltreatment, you didn't have a good relationship with your mother, you were called all sort
your
of
father.
names while you were growing up, you are stupid, you will never amount to anything, whether you believe it or not, that is shaped something about your perception of yourself.
Yeah.
And your perception of yourself in relation with the world around you.
That's right.
It is important to understand that, because if you don't, you are likely to get yourself in a relationship with a man who is going to treat you in a very, and then you wouldn't be able to rise up. You are likely to accept things that you shouldn't accept from other people because your perception of yourself is very poor. You struggle with low self-esteem.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And if you struggle, low self-esteem is being identified as one of the triggers to becoming anxious or depressed when you are faced with a stressful event.
Right.
So it is very, very important for us to seek help as Christians. There is a lot of help out there for us. I said a while ago when I went to minister somewhere, your destiny helpers, they don't necessarily have to be within the four walls of the church. Your destiny helper can be that psychiatrist, can be the GP that helps you to understand why you are the way you are. Your destiny helper could be your counselor. It could be the psychologist. Because these are people that have been equipped. They have learned. They have an understanding. And they can help us to know, why am I like this? Please help me.
Because one of the things that those destiny helpers will do is to educate you.
That's right.
And once you have that knowledge, the Bible says, my people are perished for lack of knowledge, including lack of knowledge about matters of the soul.
Oh, the
Yes.
soul.
And
yes.
that is not allowing them to make progress. And a lot of people say, oh, it's the devil, it's a demon somewhere, or it's some witches somewhere that is responsible for that. But really what they need is necessary information
That's
to
right.
understand who
Yeah.
they are
Yeah. Yeah.
at the level of the soul.
Yes.
You know, how do they react? What is it that makes them tick? And how are they going to make progress in life? That understanding is essential. And many people don't have that knowledge. And, you know, you were saying that people can get help.
Yes.
How easy is it to get help?
Oh, it is, because we have a country where it is free at the point of referral. That's the National Health Service. We thank God for that. If any of the things that we've been saying, if you can identify with any of that, you don't have to suffer in silence. Your first point of call is your general practitioner. You go to your GP. The GP can refer you to an organization called Mind.
Mind?
They will
Yeah.
offer you counseling. They will offer you cognitive behavior therapy. They will offer you other form of psychotherapeutic intervention that you might require. Most areas also have access to what we call primary care psychological therapy service. So again, your GP can refer you. So you don't even necessarily have to be referred to a community mental health thing, because a lot of us have issues with that. I understand. You don't even have to come and see a psychiatrist like
Because of
me.
the taboo.
Because of the taboo, which
Yeah.
we're also going to touch on. But you can ask your GP. So if you have problem relating with other people, if you have anxiety issue, if you are the kind of person that you're moody most of the time, you feel sad, depressed, difficulty with sleep, please don't suffer in silence. Go to your general practitioner. The same way you will go and see your general practitioner if you've got physical health problems.
Yeah.
Is the same way. We have established that we are tripart being.
Yeah.
The spirit,
Yeah.
the soul,
Yeah.
the body. If you've got issue with your spirit, you go to your pastor.
That's right.
If you've got issue with your physical body, while you're still believing God to get to that point, you go and see your GP.
Yeah, that's
If
right.
there is any aspect, the things that we have mentioned, faulty thinking pattern, problem with being able to reason things out, emotion that is going up and down, difficulty with being able to make decisions, you just struggle with that. And because of that, things that you should have moved on, you have not been able
Yeah,
to move on.
Yeah.
You are still doing the same menial jobs, even though you've got qualification that is better beyond where you are, but you struggle with that. You just haven't been able to move on in life. We're asking you to go and see your GP. And your GP can refer you for counseling.
Right.
Like my brother said, having that understanding, my people perish for lack of knowledge. It's not just spiritual knowledge.
Yes.
It's also the lack of knowledge about how your physical body operates and how your mind functions.
Right.
And lack of knowledge about how things that you have been through in the past, how they've affected you and shaped a lot of the things that you're struggling with.
Can
No,
I
yeah.
can I ask a question?
Yes,
Now,
please.
taking us back. What if you had a great childhood, right? And so all those things that you mentioned that could affect you
No problem.
is no problem. But as an adult, you suddenly find yourself in a situation where things are not going the way you want them to go. Could it trigger um, mental illness, anxiety, for instance, to the point of you having to seek help in terms of,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
can.
not just when you're young, it could
No,
happen when you're,
it could, because remember what we said about some of the things that we have inherited.
yeah.
So you might not have had the nurture,
Right,
but there could be nature.
right,
So
okay.
maybe there is something about your own genetic makeup
Okay,
that
okay.
makes you respond to stress
Right,
like
yeah.
that.
And it could show later on
It
in
could,
life.
yeah,
Right,
it could.
right,
And
right.
again, it's about going to get that help, getting that
And I
understanding.
suppose sometimes it might just be not lack of exposure or experience in that area of life, you know. Well, I trust that you are enjoying this program and I trust that you are benefiting by it. Now, there's still a little bit more that we need to cover. I suppose we may not be able to cover everything, but I'm going to ask my sister here, Dr. Shoba, to talk a little bit more about the telltale signs. How do we begin to recognize that maybe a mental health problem is causing problem? Because like we said, a lot of people don't know that it's a problem.
Yeah.
What are the things that they will notice, or their friends will notice, or their family will notice, that will make them begin to say, I think you need some help here? Apart from sometimes going on the internet and doing your personality test, and I hope somebody out there, you will go and do your personality test. Now,
it's very
maybe that's
important.
why you haven't got a job yet. It's just that you get a job, you lose it, you get a job, you lose it. Maybe it's not the devil that is involved. Maybe just you needing to understand how to work in a team.
That's right. Yeah.
So tell us about
I think the first
how do
thing,
we
the
see
first
this?
thing that people will notice is a change. So if you go, and I'm going to use teenagers, because we know we've got a lot of issues, mental health issues among our teenagers at
Yeah.
the moment.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you have a child or a teenager or a young adult who will normally come back from school and stay downstairs with mom and dad, and then you notice for the last couple of days, going to weeks now, spending more time withdrawn, not socializing with other people like before, a change in their personality, difficulties with sleep, change in your appetite. So those kind of things, you begin to wonder what is going on here.
Okay.
So they're locking themselves up more in the bedroom, they're spending more time there. And I'm mentioning that because that's how some children or some young adults have been brought to us professionals to see them. Because it could also be a sign that maybe this child is kind of dabbling into some drug use,
Right.
because it's another area we
That's
also
a
need to
big
be
area,
very
yeah.
careful,
That is a very
because we
big
know
one,
certain
yeah.
drugs. When I was talking about what can cause mental illness, I didn't mention that. Of course, illicit drug use, harmful use of alcohol, using unprescribed medication that people become addicted to, those kind of things can also trigger mental illness. So those are the things that you want to kind of notice, a change. But for adults, how do I know that things are not right? If you struggle with being able to stay in relationship, don't just say that's who I am. That's not who you are. The Bible says you are fearfully and wonderfully made. That's the sign. If you have problem with being able to control your emotion, anger outburst, you lose it easily. Don't say, well, you just have to cope with it. That's just who I am. That's not who you are. You need to seek help.
Yeah.
Things are not right.
That's right.
That is a sign that there is some issue with your personality. It could be a manifestation of what we call personality disorder. In other words, a personality that is not in order.
Wow.
Yeah.
A personality where you cannot control your emotion.
Yeah.
Where your
Can't
your ability to control your impulse is affected. You respond negatively to everything. People are they're tiptoeing around you. For me, those are signs that I need to get help.
Yeah.
We will cover more about depression, what people need to look out for. We'll cover more. But I think this area of the personality, because we take a lot of things for granted in the body of Christ.
Yes, true.
We say it doesn't really matter. It does. Because like we've told, it might be the reason why that marriage is not working.
Yeah.
It might be the reason why you're struggling in your relationship with your siblings. It might be the reason why you can't hold down a job. So you do need to try and understand what is going on here. I can't maintain relationship. I can't keep relationship. I lose them the same way that I start them. Then something is not right. I cannot control my emotion. People tiptoe around you. People have to be very careful around you. They can't tell you things because they don't know how you're going to respond.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Those for me
These
are
are subtle,
Yes.
Yeah.
subtle things
Yeah.
that might suggest that there is a problem, or they might suggest that we really need help. You might not have a problem as such. We're not saying that everybody that struggle to keep a relationship or just don't like somebody.
And the
we're not
relationship
saying
is not just kind of like man-woman relationship.
Oh, no, we're
It's
talking about general.
yeah, general
Yeah,
relationship.
yeah.
You know, see these things are rife in the body of Christ. Casting out demons don't always fix it. Sometimes
right.
that
Yeah,
compounds it.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
totally
yeah.
comfortable with the idea of casting out demons. However, I think we glorify the devil and demons too much for things that are matters of the soul. So I'm trusting that you're getting some information that you're going to work on. I know this sort of program is not enough to cover everything that you need to know, but I trust that this is stirring up some curiosity in yourself
right.
to understand yourself more. Do some soul check.
Soul check.
Soul check,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
And you will be benefiting by it.
And if I may comment, this is actually in line with the word.
That's
One
right.
of my favorite scripture in the Bible is Romans chapter 12. And I will not
Yeah.
talk about matters of the soul without mentioning
Yeah.
Romans chapter 12, verse 2. So we quickly just...
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
let's
we
look
do-
at it. Yeah.
Yeah. There is no way we're going to
Quick.
talk about
Cover
this.
everything, yeah.
Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Whoever is there among the three of us can read that quickly.
Okay, so Romans 12 verse says, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renewing, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God.
Actually, thank you, my brother. I like to start from verse 1. It says, I beseech you. The you there, remember the tripart?
Yes.
Is the you, the spirit. I beseech you. Titilola, the real you. I beseech you, therefore, by the mercies of that you, me, the real me, Titilola, present what? My body. That's my response. Present your body unto God as a living sacrifice. And then in verse 2, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed through the renewal of your mind. So he brings the third part of it there. So me, the real me, I present my body. And then he talks about my transformation. The word transform them is another word, metamorphosis, which is a distinct change of form from one. I mean, we haven't got the time to dissect that. In fact, what the Holy Spirit said to me, the next time you give this talk, bring a picture to show my people the metamorphosis as you go from one. It's a very distinct change from the egg to the larva to the pupa and then to the adult. Isn't it? It's a very so what God is saying is that when you come in as a young believer, I expect that transformation to take place.
That's
and how is that
right.
going to happen?
Yeah.
Through the renewal of your mind.
Soul check.
So check.
Soul check.
Am I starting at the egg stage?
Yeah.
If that is the case, then I'm going to have to do more work than you that is starting at the puber stage.
Yeah.
So when we get born again, the people that are giving us the new believers class, they need to be helping us to find out,
They need to.
where am I starting from?
Yes.
Was I a product of abuse?
Exactly.
If I was a product of
Yes.
abuse, Was I a product of somebody whose mother died? Then my stress response system is being activated differently from yours. So where I am going to be starting from as a Christian is different from where somebody else will start from.
Was I a product
Was
of
I a product
divorced
of a divorced
home?
or was I a product? Did I witness domestic abuse
Yes.
at home?
Yes.
How
Yeah.
has that affected my internal world? That is then impacting on the way God says, I need you
Yeah.
to renew that mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
matters of the soul significantly can affect your walk with the Lord,
That's
your
right.
Christian witness,
Yeah.
your ability to make progress in life, in relationship, in your business, in your profession. Now, we cannot emphasize this enough. Now, we're out of time again, and we are going to be continue. What are the souls? The tools that are available for us to tackle this problem. Now, remember, until we come across again, that without faith, it's impossible to please God.
Awesome God, mighty God, you are the living one. Awesome God, awesome God, mighty God, you are the living one. Awesome God, somebody say,
Awesome God,
awesome God,
mighty God,
you are
the living one. Awesome God,
awesome God.